J'ai entendu parler de David Icke il y a 22 ans. Une de mes patientes dentaires a mentionné The Biggest Secret, le plus grand secret. Le titre m'a intrigué et j'ai acheté ce livre. Jusqu'à ce moment-là, je n'étais pas un lecteur, mais mon âme m'a poussé à lire ce livre de 520 pages. Le plus grand secret est un livre unique et est à juste titre surnommé le livre qui changera le monde. Personne qui le lira ne sera plus jamais le même. Ce livre m'a certainement changé pour toujours. À mon avis, Kristen et John Nolan, les fondateurs d'Inspired Channel, créent des vidéos parfaites. J'étais inspirée de traduire ces vidéos en français et en espagnol afin de partager cette information cruciale avec le public français et espagnol en éveil. Profitez-en et partagez.
When I've looked at reincarnation, the evidence for it is very, very compelling. It's very, very, very solid when you look at the totality of it and all the experiences that people have had. So then again, following the clues which have become just part of my life in the last 32 years, I started questioning what the spirit world was. Because I read a lot about people who had been regressed through hypnosis, etc., by various psychiatrists, therapists, back to what they call the between life state. In other words, between experiences in this reality. And I started reading what people were saying, and the common themes were very, very compelling. And when I was reading these things, I was thinking, but that's a hierarchical prison as well. People were talking about, oh yeah, and then I have to go in front of elders to discuss my last life, and then I have to go to this kind of school to learn more about this, that, and the other. And you're going, what? We are consciousness. We are all that is, has been, and ever can be. We are spirit, eternal spirit, connected to all spirit. We are ultimately all that is, has been, and ever can be. What's all this about? And then I looked at reincarnation again, and I looked at the basic story of it, which we're asked to accept if you believe in it. I certainly do. But hold on, if you take the size of the universe as projected by mainstream science, compared with that, planet Earth is the equivalent of a billionth of a pinhead. So you're telling me that you have to keep coming back onto this billionth of a pinhead to learn lessons so that you can reach a state of enlightenment which allows you not to have to do that anymore. Well, that makes no sense to me, I'm sorry. What, was all infinity to explore and you've got to do this for a billionth of a pinhead? What? So that made no sense. But on the same time, reincarnation, from the evidence that I've looked at over many, many years, does make sense that it's happening. So if I put reincarnation into another context, what if this level of the simulation is not the only level of the simulation? What if, when you leave the body, if you leave it in a certain vibrational state, you're still in the simulation, you're just in other levels of it. And so what's happening is that soul's consciousness is being recycled in and out of this reality over and over again. And basically, one of the things that it's doing through all the emotional trauma, upset, and what have you that comes from that, and the way this world is structured, is that you're giving off low vibrational emotion and thought all the time. Depression, fear, the big one, anxiety, all these low vibration emotions, resentment, hatred. And what do those emotions resonate to in frequency terms? I say to the lower levels of the astral, because basically to a very large extent, not absolutely in totality, but to a very, very large extent, if you can't see it, it's the fourth dimension or the lower fourth dimension. So you can feel emotion and you can sense thought and you can feel vibes coming off other people, but you can't see them. You can see the effect of them, but you can't see them. And what that's doing is feeding energy into this lower astral, which is the realm of that which is ultimately manipulating the world of the seen, the human world, via people like Schwab and Gates and all these other people. When you look at this global cult, this secret society network, it is serving the interests of this lower astral, lower fourth dimensional force. And we, by the effect of that manipulation, are feeding, empowering with our energy that lower astral force, which obviously brings back the image of Morpheus in the Matrix holding up the battery and saying the machines have turned humans into one of these. And people remember that first Matrix movie where you see the babies and the energy that's being generated by the babies is feeding the machines, it's empowering the machines. It's symbolically exactly what's going on. And there's a very old esoteric concept, which you can find symbolized in other ways in different cultures, of what's called the ring pass not, which is perceived as an energetic barrier beyond which you cannot pass unless you are in a certain high vibrational state, which comes from your perceptual state, which comes from your self-identity state. And it's interesting that in the official story of reincarnation, you have to keep reincarnating to, quote, learn lessons, to reach a state of enlightenment, a state of frequency, which allows you to break the cycle of reincarnation. And the point being that how can you learn lessons if you keep coming back into this realm with the memory of the lessons you've already learned wiped? So you're basically starting with a blank sheet of paper. I mean, you can be influenced from the subconscious by previous lives, yes, and previous experiences, but you don't overwhelmingly consciously know what has happened and what you've learned. So you're starting with a blank sheet of paper. So what do you mean learning lessons? And there was a situation I experienced in 2003 when, for the only time, I took ayahuasca, the rainforest plant, the psychoactive drug, in a rainforest in Brazil. And for 5 hours one night, a very clear, took a female form, voice, gave me chapter and verse on the fact that this whole reality we're experiencing is an illusion. And at one point, I was shown this field in the countryside, and there was a path, a mud path going across it. And then suddenly, people started falling out of the sky as I was watching this, and they were all falling onto the path. And they were all walking along the path, and more came, and more came. And eventually they started wearing the path away, and the path started getting deeper. And then it morphed into a record groove in one of the old vinyl records, and people were walking through this groove. It was dark, they couldn't see anything. And the implication of that, what the voice said when that picture was being shown to me, is that souls, consciousness, are coming in through reincarnation already pre-programmed from previous programming. And they lock into the program, and so far from reaching a point of enlightenment so that you can break out of the cycle, the vast majority are going deeper and deeper into the cycle because of the effect on them in terms of self-identity and perception of this constant experience of this world in its different forms. And for me, I've been saying this all the way through. The answer is still the same. We are entrapped in terms of frequency, vibration, within this trap of reincarnation and this reality, this simulation, because we are manipulated not to reach a state of awareness, thus frequency, that allows us to get out of it. And so the answer is always the same: self-identity. You are not your body. That's an expression of a simulation. You are locked by the simulation into the simulation. It's through the body. We're reaching the point now where more and more people are starting to realize, remember who and what they are. And as they do so, as you expand your self-identity from I'm Ethel on the checkout to I am all that is, has been, and ever can be, having a brief experience called human, as that expansion of self-identity happens, so that expansion of frequency happens. And if you leave the body in a state of self-awareness, of true I, then you're out of here. You're out of the trap. That's the big, big, big revelation that this cult and its non-human fourth dimensional astral masters don't want us to know.
Sri Aurobindo et Mère me permirent d'accepter que l'Homo sapiens est une espèce transitoire et que le divin en moi, âme, et dans toute chose, esprit, manifeste actuellement les conditions idéales sur Terre pour la création d'un nouvel être divin matériel. Wow! L'incarnation sur Terre à ce moment crucial devient donc une chance fantastique de participer à cette élaboration sans précédent. Je m'y applique à 100%. Non pas en méditant dans une caverne, en développant mes pouvoirs occultes, en cessant la citoyenneté ou en me nourrissant de prana, mais en m'abandonnant totalement à mon âme. C'est la première des 3 transformations et la plus difficile, car mon ego, si chèrement construit, se bat comme un lion pour garder sa place de conducteur de mon corps. Le fait est que l'humanité est dans une impasse monumentale. C'est une crise évolutive. C'est la fin de l'espèce humaine, la fin de l'animal intelligent. Chaque individu doit faire le choix d'arrêter de participer et de nourrir cette horrible illusion que nous croyons être notre réalité. Il est temps de passer à la prochaine étape de l'évolution humaine, la manifestation de l'être divin matériel. Amour infini. Réjouissons-nous, car la folie que nous vivons est une illusion qui force de plus en plus de gens à s'éveiller. Cependant, nous devons avoir de la compassion pour ceux qui sont incapables de s'éveiller, parce que les injections d'ARNM ont créé une séparation d'avec l'âme individuelle. La seule façon de sortir de l'illusion, c'est par la non-conformité absolue. Les plus courageux ont consciemment choisi de sortir de l'illusion et continueront leur évolution de la conscience sur la spirale ascendante de cristal. Je sais que mon expérience en prison a été une bénédiction, car elle m'a forcé à quitter le Canada, et ce qui était perçu comme une vie parfaite de dentiste très prospère et de mère de 2 merveilleux enfants. J'ai accédé au courage en moi. Je me suis abandonné à mon âme et j'ai sauté dans l'inconnu complet. Aujourd'hui, je suis en mesure d'offrir des conseils à ceux qui choisissent de vivre en Colombie ou en Équateur. Un séjour de longue durée au Cascade Café Retiro coûte $120 par semaine. Pendant votre séjour, élargissez votre conscience avec un atelier de conscience Amour infini de 2 jours. Que diable suis-je venu faire sur cette terre? M'accomplir. Découvrez la miraculeuse noix de Sacha Inchi. Cette plante oléagineuse a une teneur très élevée en protéines, avec tous les acides aminés et acides gras essentiels pour le bien-être maximum de la santé humaine. Enfin, j'offre la dentisterie reconstructive à un prix très abordable. Je suis guidé par les enseignements de Sri Aurobindo et de la mère. Depuis le 29 février 1956, le supramental agit sur Terre en tant que puissance évolutive active. Une nouvelle phase d'évolution a commencé au milieu de l'effondrement du vieux monde. La conscience Amour infini est une invitation à participer à une aventure de conscience inédite. Peux-tu nous rejoindre? Amour infini.